Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger Republic will stop being members of the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, from 2025. President of ECOWAS Commission Aliou Touré made the announcement on Sunday during the 66th ordinary session of the heads of state and government in Abuja. Welcome to the desk on Global Television. My name is Anthony Momodu, and it promises to be exciting as we look at issues of global and continental importance to us right here. And I've got a guest who will be joining me live, and also I'll be having the reviewed Nigeria 3 Global Press via Zoom. And my guest who is seated in the studio is no other person but Dr. Moses Asali, who is a political scientist, who will be helping us look at all the big talking points on today's edition. From the ECOWAS bloc, where we'll be looking at the consequences of the final withdrawal of these three nations from the ECOWAS bloc. We'll be looking at other issues making the round across the African continent, as we look at the fact that there was 39 persons killed in attacks in western Niger near the Burkina Faso border, as no fewer than 39 people, including children, have been killed in two separate attacks in western Niger near the border of Burkina Faso. The Nigerian Defense Ministry confirmed on Saturday the attacks occurred in the communities of Libiri and Kokoru in the Tara border region, a hotspot for violence and jihadist activities, according to the ministry statement. So we'll be looking at what this would mean for that country, especially Niger, that is opting out of the ECOWAS bloc, for the fact that the ECOWAS community has not been able to support them in fighting this jihadist and insurgency, and also puts to bear the factor that there's been recent call for the formation of a new force to guard the ECOWAS community. So we'll be looking at that extensively, and we'll be looking at other issues on the desk. All right, from that border community, we'll be looking at a very important report which had to do with investigation by Premium Times and other bodies who celebrated a celebrated activist, Nimo Basi, and political candidate Gbadebo Rhodes Vivo were profiled as part of the U.S. government-funded campaign to undermine global critics of the pesticide and GMOs in Nigeria. The question of what role, if any, genetically modified organisms and the heavy pesticide usage should play in helping to address food security and climate challenges. This will be the focus of our discourse as we look at this very disturbing occurrence where certain individuals have been fingered to play that role for the United States government in pushing GMOs in Nigeria. So we'll be looking at the consequence and implications of that move by those individuals, and if it's true, what would the federal government have to do to ensure that this does not continue, especially with the fact that the Edo State government is also being marked as one of the state governors that are willing and supporting this move. All right, from that talking point, we'll move to other issues of importance for us as we look at different issues on the desk, as we give you very balanced analysis from my two special guests on today's edition. Let's go for a very quick break. When we return from this break, we'll be hitting the discuss button as we take views of all my guests, and I give you a very balanced view from all the talking points we'll be looking at on today's edition. Stay with us. So welcome back from that quick break. It's now time for us to hit the discuss button as we begin our discuss from the West African, talking about the ECOWAS bloc, a very disturbing news coming out from ECOWAS saying that from 2025, those three nations ceases to become members of ECOWAS, the ECOWAS Community of West African States. My guest is seated right in the studio, Dr. Sali. Thank you for joining me in the live studios.
Thank you for having me, Tony.
All right, how did you feel getting that news from ECOWAS finally saying in 2025 those three nations will cease to become members? Permanent exit for Niger, Burkina Faso, and Mali. Was this what we anticipated?
Well, if you, it's not surprising when you hear this type of thing coming out from these three countries. If you remember around early this year, when we, I think in your studio here, when we had an interview talking about their exit from ECOWAS, and I said that according to the treaty of ECOWAS, they can't just exit it. They need to give a notice of at least a year.
Time frame, true.
Yeah, so which they did. It was a notice they served ECOWAS, and that notice is expected to elapse by early next year, which now qualifies them to officially exit the body. It's not surprising, because if you look at these three countries, you ask yourself, you do a critical analysis of the reasons why they are trying to exit ECOWAS. It's basically for regime protection, beyond whatever you are talking about.
Beyond the economic?
No, the main reason is regime protection, because they are military leaders, they are soldiers, and according to a standing ECOWAS protocol on democracy and good governance, they are not, there is an aberration to have a coup within the sub-region.
Sure.
So if they remain in ECOWAS, they must give timeline for election. And that election may not be favorable to them. So in other words, if they conduct election and they are not popular enough, or they are not even willing to stand for a democratic process, the best thing is to exit ECOWAS so that they can be able to stay and govern the country that they have succeeded in, through a coup. So it's not for any reason. It's for regime protection.
So are we saying that the behind the scene lobbying by the ECOWAS bloc and all the promises made by President Bola Tinubu that they were going to lobby and get these nations back into their fold has not yielded any positive?
That has happened. And as long as they are interested, if you look at these guys that are there, they are very young, except the one in Niger. Oh, they are very young guys. And they want to perpetuate themselves in that place. So if they subscribe to ECOWAS, principle, especially the protocol on democracy and good governance, which does not allow any military government in the sub-region, they won't be able to stay. So as long as you are lobbying and you don't put their interest on the table in terms of, okay, why not leave the military and be able to contest as a Democrat, which they know that if they should go through that route, they may not be able to get elected into office, except they manipulate the electoral process. So for that reason, they will not be able to budge, to think of remaining in ECOWAS, to abide by that principle that will exit them from office.
Can we blame Western influence for also the fact that they're having the courage to stay put? Because immediately after they first signified their interest in leaving the ECOWAS bloc, we had Russia and some other countries decide to do business with them already, giving them proposals. And do you think that's another influence that has had in them to want to...
No, the ECOWAS, they need to rethink and retool their strategy of enforcement. When you have such protocol, there must be some level of enforceability to give it that bite. So for instance, in this sub-region, if these leaders have indicated their interest to exit a body like ECOWAS, that indication, does it reflect the general will of the country? If it does not, there are civil society organizations in these countries that you can fund to become the mouthpiece to rally people around against such decision. I've stayed back and I have not heard anything from such places. ECOWAS must be able to have a clear strategy, either through soft power or hard power, to be able to enforce their protocols and laws.
Like using Amnesty International, for instance.
That is one. You mobilize the public. There's a way through the age of society, you mobilize them to rise up in country within those to challenge such decisions made by these people. And if he goes further to crack them down, using force, brutal force on them, that could be another reason why you should escalate it to the ICC and all that. So if they did not do that and they just went to sleep, saying they are doing diplomatic negotiation, when they know that these guys, the reason why they want to exit the body is because they want to protect their regime. And as long as you are not giving them that assurance that they are coming back to hold that office and perpetuate themselves in office, there is nothing you talk about that they would budge. So that is where ECOWAS got it wrong.
Okay, can we say this has drawn the need for ECOWAS to have its own military force? Because there used to be ECOMOG before.
No, they still have. But we have ECOWAS standby force. We have ECOWAS standby force.
But why is ECOWAS not, exploring the possibility of using?
No, the phase which we are now does not demand the use of the military. That is why I just said the soft power that you could have used. Look at the Arab Spring. The US and other Western nations, what they do, they and those protests now remove those leaders. So I'm not sure that this decision by these military leaders is a reflection of the will of the people to exit the sub-region. And if it is not a reflection of the will of the people, then why are you sleeping almost a year? You haven't done much in terms of, instigating the people to rise up against such decisions. If you are negotiating with them and they are not willing to listen, then you talk to the people. The people want democracy. The people want to be associated with their neighboring countries. They want to trade because the consequences of this withdrawal is much. Number one, you see, most these countries, this Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, they are landlocked countries. Most of their importation are done within the ports in Nigeria, Lomé, and Togo.
So the ECOWAS can still have a hold on them?
Definitely, anybody that is trading within us, that is not member of us, definitely what an European country will pay. That's what we are going to pay. So it's going to affect their economy. In terms of the prices of goods and services, will definitely go up.
So do you think that's what ECOWAS is waiting for, or ECOWAS is just
simply... No, it's not about waiting for. There is a reason, you have to be proactive. Because if you like it or not, their exit has more negative impact on the region than positive. Because number one, you have emboldened them. And number two, there are other countries that are within the sub-region that could emulate what they have done. And number three is going to affect the sustainability of the organization. That is why I said that there should be mechanisms that you could have used, to control their behavior.
But does this show us the poor leadership of ECOWAS currently as it is, regardless of whether it's the Nigerian president that is there or not?
It's not a matter. You see, at times some of these things has nothing to do with the current chair of ECOWAS. It has to do more with the secretariat. Because some of these things I'm talking about is a job that is done by the secretariat. The chair only gives the political direction.
Yes.
Okay, and the political direction is given on the basis of what they have agreed in their meeting.
So it still goes down to the fact that...
So what goes to the meeting for deliberation comes from the secretariat.
So, but it's still... The bus stop is still on the chair of the block. What I'm saying is, at the end of the day, it's still going to... The buck is still going to stop at his table.
The buck stops at his table. There's nothing, you see, even if the buck comes to his table, he as a chair does not take a unilateral decision.
Good.
He's still going to bring it before the head of government and head of presidents within the sub.
But do you think they've got
No, that has not happened. Maybe they need to meet and discuss. These people have met this threshold, and the feedback we have received from there indicates this so they are likely to leave. But what I'm trying to say is that if the decision to exit the sub-regional government, the ECOWAS, is not the true reflection of the majority of its citizens, then ECOWAS ought to have taken certain measures that would have, challenged them within their countries, asking them to withdraw the notice of withdrawal. because they have parliament, they have citizens, they have union bodies, they have CSO.
But don't you think the military must have cowed this group of people?
That is what we are saying.
Yeah.
If they have cowed them, that is where ECOWAS comes in. Give them that voice. Let them go ahead and protest. If they crack down on the protest, then it becomes, you escalate it. You escalate it. Then that escalation can get even up to the UN, get even up to ICC, report other human rights bodies will take it up. And that will put more pressure on them. Attract sanctions beyond the sub-region. And that will control their behavior. But they did not do that. They are trying to, you don't negotiate like that. The way you negotiate with a democratically elected government is different from a military.
Do you think the ECOWAS bloc underrated this?
Actually, they did. They underrated them. They underrated them. Obviously, they underrated them. But it was a grave mistake. Because you have a whole year to yourself to cow them, to use every means possible within your power to bring them back to the field. You only went back to sleep. Just to serve the notice to the public that they are going to leave. Who does that?
All right, a very sad commentary there, but let's move on to the next talking point on our desk. This evening we're looking at 39 killed, the borderlines between Burkina Faso and Niger. Let's look at the insurgency still playing out within these regions. These are regions that said one of the key reasons why they're leaving the ECOWAS bloc is the fact that the ECOWAS has not protected them against insurgency. But Niger, now they are having military rulers, but they're still facing this insurgency. What does that tell us, or what does it tell the people of Niger, Mali and Burkina Faso that that move they made is still not the best choice for them?
You know, the Sahel region
yeah,
is prone to a crisis of this nature. You know, whether they're in ECOWAS or they exit ECOWAS, it's not going to stop that kind of thing from happening. The reason is that because there are several factors that fuels the crisis in the Sahel region. Their proximity to the Arabian world through Mali, through Libya, Algeria, and the rest.
Yes.
Is also a factor. And when you look at what is happening in the Middle East, look at what is happening in the Middle East, in Israel and Palestine, in Lebanon, in Syria. So they are cascading down towards that axis. Fighters, some of the fighters in the Sahel region go there to support them. And after a while, they come back. And these are people that believe that they can get whatever they want through fighting. So the issue of having that crisis around that region, well, it does not matter who is in government. But, you know, with all fairness, with the military guys around there are some, you know, intensification of operations going on there, which have, so to some point, reduced it. But there is a way these guys operate. They operate in a manner that if you think you can take us out and we will not be able to do anything, we will turn our guns to the citizens to tell you that you can't protect your citizens. In order to send a message to the government, they can kill thousands of them. They can kill hundreds of them. 5 people can do that damage because citizens are very vulnerable. And they take them on, maybe in their farms, in the marketplace, anywhere they are, having a festive arena, they can go there and take them on, and casualties could be many, just to send the message to the government that you cannot protect them all that.
Where does this actually leave this Sahel countries now? Because we were told they were going to form an alliance, these countries, in order to protect themselves. Do you think this is going to make them quicken, and with this distraction also give ECOWAS another chance to say, okay, probably if you come back, we can work with you?
No, you see, forming an alliance, they call them whether the Alliance of Sahel. You see, that does not, in all its fairness, you know, gives them the alibi or whatever they desire to protect their region. I have told you the main reason why they want to exit ECOWAS is for regime protection. So if they form such alliance, definitely such alliance will not be focused on how democratic rule exists in these countries. So they are going to stay as long as they want to stay. That does not address the fundamental problem of this country, or this country, these three countries. And what is their problem? They have problem of poverty. They have problem of low enrollment in the education. They have problem of bothering their health condition. All these problems cannot be addressed by forming an alliance of the Sahelian states. What will address this security problem? Is to democratize these countries in such a way that the disgruntled elements within that country are also given the opportunity to be able to make input in how things are done within their country. If you do not give them that opportunity to be able to make suggestions and be able to participate in the democratic process, if you continue to isolate them, if you continue to exclude them, it will increase the crisis you see in these countries. And that can only happen under a democratic environment. It does not happen under a military environment. So the military system that is being, the military leadership that is in these countries, they are not likely to solve the problems of these countries. They are not likely. Rather, they might. Because these guys, by the time they increase their arsenal by having sufficient weapons to engage government forces, they will do that.
All right, very sad commentary. Let's move on to the genetically modified products, GMOs now. There's a research by Premium Times and some other international bodies that has revealed that the U.S. government paid certain Nigerians, and one of them being the National Biotechnological Research and Development Agency, the DG there, using the U.S. funds to roll out these GMOs in the crops in Nigeria. How do you see this? How big is this controversy? And are you worried that the government did not see this, or was not aware of this until Premium Times and other investigative bodies came up with this?
No, you see, that agency you mentioned is a research agency.
Yes, it is.
And every research agency attracts funding depending on the research area of focus that they are doing. If
they receive funding without the federal government.
No. You see, there are different researches that they conduct. If they are focusing on the GMO farm that has to do with a particular crop. Maybe it has to do with a particular crop. And that crop, the US is interested in it. Maybe that particular crop has not gained traction, has not been accepted. So they want it accepted. They could invest in that. Most of the times, when you do the research and you do your findings, you send the research findings to them. The implementation may not be in Nigeria. Do you understand what I'm saying? The implementation of that research finding.
But this was involved in
the you to do the research for them because they funded the research. So if they are funding a research project and at the end of the project you turn in the report, they send back the report to them, they might use their report for their own country. Do you understand what I'm saying? So what we are saying about the GMO, this and that, is not, GMOs are not bad generally.
But they've got harmful effects.
Definitely, there are drawbacks. And that is why researches are conducted on them. The essence of conducting this research is to see the harmful effect of these things and to see how beneficial it is. For we have a growing population. Our population is growing. This peasant farming is not sustainable for a growing population.
Sure.
Do you understand what I'm saying? So there are other avenues by improving your yield, your agricultural yield, so that they can be able to cater for more people. Beyond the cost of fuel, one of the reasons why we are having a high inflation that has to do with food items is the population. You have a growing population, then the number of farmers is going lower, and the kind of farming we are doing that is a peasant in nature cannot feed the masses. So investing in GMO is one of the ways to address the hunger gap within the country. But notwithstanding, they are doing the research to be able to identify some of the dangers associated with this. Because if you do not treat them very well, as they begin to come out, it can increase a lot of sicknesses and diseases among the citizens, cancer and the rest of it. So that is why they put them under research, to be able to observe and look at what are the harmful effects associated with this, and how can the country benefit from this, the whole thing. So you can't just discard it that they gave them money. No, it's not as if they called certain people and gave them funds. No, it's a research project that has been committed.
The report is saying it has not been like okayed by the federal government.
Yes.
And these funds were gotten without going through the due process to say, okay, we're agreeing to this this research, and there's also this fear of that. After this
Tony,
research,
Tony, I'm a researcher, and I know the processes by which you go through before you get funded. First of all, with a proposal. If you have a proposal, and the proposal is, is presented, and the audience which you presented the proposal accepts the proposal, then if they have any modification to the proposal, they can suggest that to you, which may eventually affect other aspects of the research, like of the methodology and the other. Then the funding, before they release fund for you, they have accepted the proposal, they have agreed at the proposal that a government agency like that cannot just do anything with that. It's under a minister. It's a parastatal in the ministry. So they will take approval from the ministry to go ahead, even for the funding, before funds will be released to them.
But in Nigeria, we know when we've seen cases where, just going back to a quick one, Boss Mustafa saying he wasn't aware of this at the presidency level.
That is so extreme. I agree with you that things like that could happen in such a way that at the level of proposal presentation, they may tell them, pause this thing, let's get clearance before you can get funding, and the funding came, and they did not relay back to say we have received funding. That one is a different thing that they will deal with later. But getting to that point whereby they will not tell them to, they will not be asking for funding. Definitely, all those transactions must have gone in the form of memo and all that to the government. The government cannot say they are not aware that they went into such a.
Keep our fingers crossed.
The most important thing is that the agency was created specifically to protect Nigerians from harmful effect of GMOs, and to see how Nigeria can leverage GMOs to increase its food production.
True.
Okay, this agency has a dual responsibility. How do we use GMO to increase our food production? And how do we protect the country from the harmful effect of GMOs? So it does not matter even if the US is funding it, and this thing is in line with these two major reasons why I've given you. It's not a bad this.
Okay, let's move to the next talk on our desk. We've got the missing 57 billion naira, where the Social Economic Rights and Accountability Project SERAP has filed a lawsuit against President Bola Tinubu over the failure to direct the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice Lateef Fagbemi to work with the appropriate anti-corruption agencies to probe allegations that over 57 billion of public funds are missing, diverted or stolen from the Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation in 2021 alone. The burning allegations are documented in the 2021 audited report released by last month by the Office of the Auditor General of the Federation. Some people have said that SERAP is good at filing, suing the federal government, but we never really see the end of all this litigation. And even at times when it's concluded, the federal government does not even obey the court orders.
Yes.
So, do you think there's an advantage or there's a plus to this continuous?
I think what SERAP is trying to achieve from all this is that advocacy aspect. Put it on the public domain
to let people know that
such thing exists. And one of the ways to do that is to say they are going to court, or we have gone to court to sue. When people hear that headline, you sue the federal government, or you sue the president, or you sue this, they will want to pay attention to what are the details. So the major function of that has to do with the advocacy dimension of their responsibility.
But
notwithstanding, you see, some of these cases, they may not obtain judgment from courts, but for the fact that, you know, a body is asking questions on this thing can also shape their behavior on how they handle things like that. These are some of the benefits you get when you have civil society organizations doing such thing. Like I was telling you the other time when we were discussing the exit of this country, I said if something like SERAP exists, they will be able to challenge them. You know, on these are issues that borders on public interest. They will challenge the authority. Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? So, by drawing the attention of the Attorney General of the Federation and the other people that such fraud exists, the Attorney General may, you know, with that may direct other agencies within it, like the ICPC and the EFCC and others, to look into those things and see how they can do it. But Nigeria's democracy is still maturing. Do you understand what I'm saying? When I say it's still maturing.
So that's why
judgment like SERAP, you know, they will continue to do what they are doing. When the democracy mature to the point whereby independent bodies like that can be able to obtain favorable judgment from our courts.
But getting the judgment and adhering to the rulings is
another thing. Why is the federal government not
also not obeying court orders?
You see,
even when you have the Attorney General of Federation there, who should know better?
You see, is the issue of whether they will obey court orders or not. You know, when the court makes a pronouncement, you don't know what the office of the Attorney General has done in terms of their response to that. Either they have appealed for something or they have done to be able to stay up something, that they must have done something. That may not even be in the public domain, but they have done something at least. Because if a court gives and nothing is done about it, it's also an offense on its own. It's also an offense. They talk about contempt of court and all that. So if SERAP comes to the public to say, we have done this, and the government have responded quietly and they did not come to the public to let the public know that they have appealed this, or they have done this, or they have done this, you may not know. You might be thinking it's only SERAP's own that is subsisting. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Okay.
So we do much to be able to find out details on certain things, like SERAP, that is, you know, taking the government to court by, you know, broadcasting what they have done. They should also carry that burden of being able to see, update us, because there are several cases, like you have said, that SERAP has taken to court. We have not received any update on them. They should be able to update the public that on this case, this is where we are. On this case, this is where we are, so that the public can also follow as they continue.
Okay, before we go for a quick break, the issue that SERAP raised, the fact that the president did not mandate the Attorney General to work with relevant agencies, anti-graft agencies, to look in where that 57 billion went to. On the part of the federal government, do you think it's also kind of deliberate? Because most times we hear the president give directives. Do you think he was deliberate not giving that directive because of the persons who were said to be involved in that fraud at that time? We know that the chief of staff, Femi Gbajabiamila, was fingered. The minister of interior was fingered in that Betta Edu case. Do you think these are reasons why probably the federal government didn't push further?
You see, that is, you know, that is the political aspect of prosecution. You know, like even Betta Edu, she lost her ministerial appointment as a result of that case.
Because they didn't really come out to say.
And the public are not even, after losing, you know, sending her away, nothing much was done about it. So that is what I was trying to tell you. Until these anti-corruption agencies have the independence that they require to be able to, you know, prosecute people, even those in government, like the names you are just ruling out, if they are be able to hold them to account for such things, then when we get there, then you can now say, yes, Nigeria is truly at it. But as long as we have not gotten there, where we have sacred cows within, untouchables within, we will still continue to struggle with our anti-corruption fight. you know. And concerning this particular case that we have talked about, it's a case that is so complex. That is why they directed the EFCC and other government agencies to do a thorough investigation of what transpired there. I don't know, they have not done it, I don't know whether the investigation is still ongoing. Do you understand what I'm saying? And the government, based on the tradition of governance, they will not be able to do anything until whatever investigation is being done is concluded and is presented to them. Then they can now take a decision on what to do. But it's taking time because Betty Aidu left the government is close to a year now that she left the government. And if you have sent your minister away because of that kind of allegation, and you just allow it to pen like that, I don't think that's the right way to handle that kind of case. You must be able to dig deeper and find all those who are found culpable to be able to, you know, and also face the music the way they have done. But to me, if you have sent Betty Aidu away and you just sent her away like that without any form of other punishment that she should suffer, that's not the best way to handle it. If she's found culpable that she has violated the rules, those in prisons, she's not better than them. Do you understand what I'm saying? We must be able to do things conclusively so that it can serve as a deterrent to any other person that may be thinking of doing such thing in the future or now. It's just sending her away and she goes and sit down and nothing is done. I know that's not the best way to handle such things.
All right, we'll go for a quick break. When we return from the break, we'll continue with other talking points which are of interest to Nigerians as we look at very key issues, current affairs issues across the board. Please stay with us.
All right, welcome back from the break. You're still
watching The Desk on Global Television. My guest today in the studio, Dr. Moses Saleh, who is a political analyst, helping us, scientist, I beg your pardon, helping us look at very key issues. Now we're moving to the financial sector where Nigeria continues to face cash scarcity despite a significant year-on-year increase of 1.59 trillion naira in the amount of currency held outside banks. Data from the Central Bank of Nigeria's Money and Credit Statistics shows that a substantial portion of currency in circulation remains outside the banking sector, and with more than 90% consistently held outside formal financial institutions in 2024. The data revealed that the currency outside the bank surged to 4.29 trillion naira in October 2024, accounting for 94.3% of the total currency in circulation of 4.55 trillion naira. This represents a significant year-on-year growth of 59%, or 1.59 trillion naira from 2.70 trillion naira in October 2023, when 89.6% of the total currency was outside banks. Currently, we also hear the CBN saying banks who are complicit in certain financial issues, and also those responsible for the scarcity, the alleged scarcity of cash we're having in the country, will be fined. Are you comfortable with the way this CBN has handled issues since the coming of Kabaso? As some have said, he has been one man who has had a lot of policy somersaults. He tries this for 2 weeks, he goes back to another one. What do you think is playing out? Now we're having cash, scarcity.
Do
you think it's deliberate?
I don't think so.
But with this report talking about the amount of money outside the bank circulation, it feels like the CBN is trying to mop up cash. That's why they're deliberately
No, the issue is that they are mopping up cash. It's not trying to mop up cash. If you remember the interview we had the last time, they thought that fewer circulation of money may help the inflation. But I was trying to tell you that alone does not reduce inflation. Because inflation responds to demand in terms of production and all that. Yeah. So what he's trying to say, or we're trying to do, is that as long as this continue to say that over 1.5 in cash is in circulation, all the time they continue to bring out that figure 1.9 trillion, over 1.6 trillion, all the time 1.6 trillion. That shows that they don't really have the exact figure of how much is in circulation. It's speculatory. And if you have such volume of money in circulation, who and where is the bulk of this money? Because that is one of the job of CBN. You must be able to track where this cash are. If an organization, for instance, takes in the cash of 1 billion naira, you should be able to know that this organization is in Soso, in Abuja, or in Kano, or in Lagos, or in Rivers, has withdrawn the cash of 1 billion naira. Do you understand what I'm saying? So all these ones that they are talking about, circulation and all that, and the scarcity of cash, then that shows that they don't really have the clarity of how much is in circulation. That is number two. They are talking about trading in new naira notes and from the banks. Before, someone can just walk to the bank, tell your cashier, I want to withdraw 50,000 naira, please give me new notes. The person will count the new note and give it to you. But now you don't get that. Before that happen, you have to pay. That is
that not the corruption?
It's a crime
within the banking sector.
It is a crime.
Even with the CCTV camera,
it is a crime. But for such thing to happen, it's not only in one place, in several places across the country. It's a violation of the rules. And these are the things that makes, because if those who are operating, POS businesses are going there to buy currency, definitely the charges you will pay for obtaining such currency will not be the same. It will be higher. So these are the things that makes inflation to thrive in your economy. Because when people begin to add here and there on things that they ought not to add, so then somebody is paying for it. As long as such services goes into goods and services in transaction all around, definitely it's going to increase the prices of things. It may look so subtle. Someone doing POS will buy 1 million naira for 20,000 naira. Definitely, if the person charges you for 100 naira for 5,000 naira, it's going to be like 200 naira or 300 naira for the service of just 10,000 naira. And if it trickles down from one place to another, other businesses will begin to increase their prices and all that. And if you like it or not, whether you mop out the funds and all that, it does not reduce the prices of goods and services because of all these factors that come.
So can we say the CBN is playing to...
I must be honest with you. Cardoso's regime of CBN has been somehow uninteresting. I must be honest with you. I'm not trying to run down anybody. But as a Nigerian who goes to the market and all that, I know that he has been trying to battle with so many things, but notwithstanding, some of the things, like I said the other earlier, monetary policy and fiscal policy must be able to come together to have a good outcome. You can't be running the monetary policy in isolation to fiscal policy. It definitely doesn't work that way. You are mopping out funds, which is a monetary policy. You are taking a measure to see, and what should even add up from the fiscal dimension to be able to reduce the cost of goods and services is not coming up.
No, do you think his continuous stay is based on the relationship between the presidency and not necessarily because he's the president?
You see, the issue about appointment to such positions is only driven by the person who is appointing the individual. Whatever you say, as long as it does not fit into the narrative that the person has, it has nothing to do.
What of the National Economic
Council and the National Economic Council, then the wise men that
were appointed by
President Bola Tinubu, the
Indimolu and others who were meant to
those
do their expertise
in advance. They don't really have any power to do
it. Can they figure it
out that Cardoso is not the best man for the job?
His flip-flopping policies are not helping Nigerians.
You see, Tony, you see, it is that is why we have the National Assembly. It's because they are not doing their job very well. If they are doing their job, they should be able to invite him and ask him these questions. And if they are not convinced by whatever he says, they should be able to pass a motion or a resolution, take a decision, advising the executive to do this and this. I remember when Cardoso was being screened at the Senate, there was a comment, a serious comment by Senator Adams Oshiomhole about him in particular, that this is not a place you flaunt your CV as someone who has run the banks that have gone underground. And I specifically singled out that aspect of his
work. Comment to means there's something.
There was something peculiar about this one. Because you don't pay attention to what Oshiomhole said. But I looked at it critically. He said that this is not the place to run the CBN. Is not a place where people who have managed banks that have gone under the drain. And I decided to ask him. So he has managed some banks that are no longer in existence.
So there's something wrong.
So if a senator has raised that kind of observation on the floor of the Senate, and other senators are just looking at it as if it's a normal thing, because these are the things that you must pay attention to.
Whatever side comment this is making for discourse will be coming this. Just a quick one before we wrap up. We've got 3 minutes or less to talk about this. Nebmoko is seeking or calling for a new state for this southeast region. And to be fair, the people of southeast are the only region with less number of states compared to other regions. Do you think what Nebmoko is calling for, and also calling for the unity of the Igbo race, so they can achieve their socio-economic and political aspirations, can be gotten?
Well, you see, it's good for Ned to play that role of calling for the creation of an urban state.
Yeah. It's been a long time coming.
Yes, that agitation is good, but as a political scientist, I look at it critically. Why is this man being at the forefront of this agitation? It's for his own political gain. Because we have had such scenario before. I'm from Benue State.
Okay.
And we had Senator David Mark who represented us for a very long time. And that was his strategy. Each time he comes to us, he said that there will be apostates. So for that reason, they keep re-electing him back to the Senate. They keep re-electing him. They keep re-electing him. He spent over 20 years as a senator. And that state was not created. So I still led towing the same line. I am telling you the truth. I won't join the bandwagon to say, this. No. You see, when a politician is pushing for something, put your thinking cap and say, why is this person pushing for this thing?
So not for the interest of the people.
It might be, if it comes true, it's for the interest of the people. But before it comes true, it's to service his personal interest. Or what is his personal interest? To keep going back to the Senate. Because David Mark used the same thing. David Mark used apostate creation as the bargaining chip for his continuous election.
Was it that he wasn't pushing for the apostate?
Ned is pushing now. He did the same thing. Ned is pushing. Ned is hoping for him. He's going to be attending places and he's all singing. It's more or less like his anthem everywhere.
All right. That's strategy using David Mark's strategy. Welcome to wrap up today's edition. I also give thank you to Dr. Moses Sali. Always a pleasure having you.
Thank you, Tony.
Thank you very much.
It's good to see you.
All right, so that's how we're going to call it a wrap
For today's edition on the Dexter, the very jolly way to end the edition. My name is Anthony Momodu saying thank you for being part of
this edition.
Tomorrow promises to be very exciting as we bring you more interesting talking points. Stay with us.